Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Haribo, 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 Gauranibo. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnavanda ki jai. Grantara Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita ki jai. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmiritam yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manovishtam Stapitam yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Karamayam Dadati Swakarantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutta Parakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanditanscha Nama O Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Itina Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschachadeshatani Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sudevi Pranamami Hari. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Ganadhar Shri Vasari Gaura Bhaktarinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya 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 Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda
Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda
Jaya Beta Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda
Jaya Beta Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda
Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda
Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda
Jaya Beta Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda
Jaya Beta Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda
So, good morning. Good morning, everyone. Hari Bol. So, on this very bright and sunny Sunday morning, we are fortunate to be reading from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, which has been made kindly available to us by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, who was very eager to translate for our benefit. We're reading from Madhya Lila, chapter 22, the process of devotional service. And this is one of, 20, 21, 22, 23, and 24. So, about 5 chapters of Srila Sanatana Goswami's lessons, that is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's lessons to Sanatana Goswami. Where did Lord Chaitanya speak these teachings to Sanatana Goswami? Varanasi, yes. Who has been to Varanasi? Yes, yes. Yes, nice. I have also been to Varanasi. And while I was in Varanasi, I was with, I think, one other devotee. This was, what year was it? 1995, I think. So long ago. And it was completely unplanned and not known. We literally practically ran into His Holiness Radhanath Swami, who was there not with the usual 5,000 devotees that he travels with now when he does parikrama. There were about 10 devotees, brahmacharis, and they were doing a parikrama of Varanasi, and he invited us to join him, and it was so sweet. Especially because Radhanath Swami had spent time in Varanasi before he met Srila Prabhupada. And he knew it quite well. He was living there as a sadhu. And so he was a good tour guide for us. And yeah, we were so fortunate. And it was, I remember also, of course, there we bathed in the Ganga, and I was right next to Radhanath Swami, and he began doing tarpana. You know what is tarpana? It's scooping some water up and making a prayer and offering it back in, and then again. So like that, it's offering Ganga to the Ganga, but also it's, I guess it's done in many ways. But I noticed he was doing many times he was doing this. And so after I asked him, how is it, what are you doing? Yes, I'm worshipping Ganga. He said Ganga is very, very special for me because it was Mother Ganga who revealed to me the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. He tells that story in his book. He was in, I think, Rishikesh. Again, as a sadhu, he would spend the whole day sitting on a big rock in the Ganga. He was eating 1 carrot per day. That one carrot dealer was giving to him. And he said one day he was just there on this stone, just sitting, I guess, meditating, and he heard the Maha Mantra from Ganga. Haribo. So yes, Varanasi. For how long were both of them there together? And, 2 months, yes, 2 months. So what we read in Chaitanya Charitamrita of these lessons does not take us 2 months to read. So we can imagine that they would have had many more exchange much longer, and there would have been so much more that they spoke. And so that means what we read is very much a summary of that. Of course, what we get in other works by Sanatana Goswami would be, and we understand, be the product, so to say, of this encounter. Okay, we're reading verse number 133, and this is a Sanskrit verse. Krishnadas Kaviraj many times sort of weaves Sanskrit verses into the otherwise Bengali Chaitanya Charitamrita. So this is a Sanskrit verse. He's quoting from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, and this may bring us to wonder, how is that possible? So did Lord Chaitanya, because it's Lord Chaitanya speaking, so did he quote Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, which was composed by Rupa Goswami after they met, years later? Or is Rupa Goswami quoting Lord Chaitanya, who was quoted by Sanatana Goswami to Rupa Goswami after this meeting, and then also to Krishnadas Kaviraj, or what's going on? That's a little obscure, but what we have in general is, in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, one thing we have is a summary of the teachings of the 6 Goswamis, but mainly in Bengali, because who is Krishnadas Kaviraj writing for? Mainly he's writing for the devotees in Bengal who are not reading Sanskrit. And so many years after After Lord Chaitanya has met them, after then they go to Vrindavan, and after they have written all of their literature, then Krishnadas Kaviraj writes Chaitanya Charitamrita in Bengali with some Sanskrit, and it is then exported to Bengal. Okay, this is a Sanskrit verse. We can chant. Duruhad Bhutaviryesmin. Duruhad Bhutaviryesmin. Shraddha Durestu Panchake. Shraddha Durestu Panchake. Yatra Svalpopi Sambandha. Yatra Svalpopi Sambandha. Satyang Bhava Janmane. Satyang Bhava Janmane. Duruhad Bhutaviryesmin. Shraddha Durestu Panchake. Yatra Svalpopi Sambandha. Sadhyang Bhava Janmane. Please, all of you, chant.
Duruhat Bhutaviryesmin.
Duruhat Bhutaviryesmin.
Shraddha Durestu Panchake.
Shraddha Durestu Panchake.
Yatra Svalpopi Sambandha.
Yatra Svalpopi Sambandha.
Satyam Bhava Janmane.
Satyam Bhava Janmane.
Duruhat Bhutaviryesmin.
Duruhat Bhutaviryesmin.
Shraddha Durestu Panchake.
Shraddha Durestu Panchake.
Yatra Svalpopi Sambandha.
Yatra Svalpopi Sambandha.
Satyam Bhava Janmane.
Satyam Bhava Janmane.
Duruhat Bhutaviryesmin.
Duruhat Bhutaviryesmin.
Shraddha Durestu Panchake.
Shraddha Durestu Panchake.
Yatra Svalpopi Sambandha.
Yatra Svalpopi Sambandha.
Satyam Bhava Janmane.
Satyam Bhava Janmane. Duruhat Bhutaviryesmin.
Shraddha Durestu Panchake.
Shraddha Durestu Panchake.
Yatra Svalpopi Sambandha.
Yatra Svalpopi Sambandha.
Satyam Bhava Janmane.
Satyam Bhava Janmane.
One more, just to make it even.
Duruhat Bhutaviryesmin.
Duruhat Bhutaviryesmin.
Shraddha Durestu Panchake.
Shraddha Durestu Panchake.
Yatra Svalpopi Sambandha.
Yatra Svalpopi Sambandha.
Satyam Bhava Janmane.
Satyam Bhava Janmane.
Okay, what does it mean? Anyone want to hazard a guess what this is about? No? Okay. Dur-uha.
Duruha.
Difficult to understand. Adbhuta.
Adbhuta.
Wonderful. Virye. In the power. Asmin. In this. Shraddha. Dure, far away. Astu, let it be. Panchake, in the above mentioned 5 principles. Yatra, in which. Sualpa, a little. Abhi, even. Sambandha, connection. Satya, of those who are intelligent and offenseless. Bhava janmane, to awaken one's dormant love for Krishna. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. The power of these 5 principles is very wonderful and difficult to understand. Even without faith in them, a person who is offenseless can awaken his dormant love of Krishna simply by being a little connected with them. There's hope for us. And the purport says very briefly, this verse is also found in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1-2-238. And that's as much as Prabhupada wanted to say on that. Possibly because he'll say something more later. Sometimes Srila Prabhupada will just let the verses speak for themselves, and then after a few verses you find a longer purport in which he's referring to not just that one verse, but a few verses more than that. Yeah. So what are these 5 principles being referred to here? Would be perhaps a reasonable question.
Also, these 5 processes, I think it's reading Srimad Bhagavatam, you go to holy places, chant, associate with devotees, and live the holy worship.
And worship Krishna, yes? Yes, sadhu sangha Krishna prema. What do I want to say? Sadhu sangha. Yes, anyway, these 5. Association with devotees. Yes, we had this in the previous verse. Where am I? Nama Sankirtan Shriman Mathura Mandale Stiti. Performing Nama Sankirtanam Shrimad Mathura Mandale Stitihi, being situated in the Holy Land, specifically is translated here as Vrindavan, Shrimad Mathura Mandala. Mathura Mandala means the greater area of what now we call Braja, the land of Braja. Last week we heard from Akandari Prabhu on this verse. One should congregationally chant the holy name of the Lord and reside in Vrindavan. And I remember one point he made was that these activities are very much interrelated. If someone associates with devotees, sadhu sangha, then what are these sadhus doing? Well, yes.
They speak about Krishna, they chant together,
Yeah.
and they worship Krishna.
Yes.
Also where the sadhus are is actually Vrindavan.
Yes, so like that, they are interrelated. And we could say with all the others, so, okay, I will serve Krishna. This church bell, it always sounds to me so what's the word? Ominous. Time is passing. Boom, boom. Yes, indeed, time is passing, and therefore, what should we do? We should practice these 5 activities. Yes. So, if we reside in Vrindavan, Mathura Mandala, who are we going to meet there?
Sadhus.
We're going to meet sadhus. And again, what are the sadhus going to be doing? They will be worshipping Krishna, and they will be chanting Hare Krishna, and so on. So all of these are very much interrelated. And we might want to say that they are interdependent. You know what that means? Interdependent. If you extract one, then it's kind of like something is missing. If you would extract chanting Hare Krishna, imagine that we would worship the deities completely silently, and actually you see this in many temples. People come into the temple and they bow down, and then they just stand there. Maybe with folded hands. Of course, they may be offering silent prayers. That's also very, very nice. And then we see this a lot in India. People come to visit one of the ISKCON temples, and there's wild kirtan going on, and they will be standing and sort of looking like this, like, what's going on? What is happening here? But then gradually they start to sort of maybe clap like this, and then if they stay long enough, you'll find them also dancing around and jumping. And I've seen in Mayapur Chandradoya Mandir, some devotees actually actively engage the guests in the kirtan. They get them, dancing and chanting, and it's very nice. But imagine we would not do any kirtan before the deities, just stand. Something would be missing, wouldn't it? So that's nama. And then something would be missing if we subtracted the Bhagavatam, right? If we would not be hearing Bhagavatam, we would maybe be doing the other things, but we might ask ourselves for how long we would do them, because, of course, the Bhagavatam is giving us the nourishment through hearing that gives us the impetus. It's describing, of course, the sadhus, and what are the sadhus doing? They are worshipping Krishna. Or it's describing those who are becoming sadhus, or it's describing those who are not sadhus, or not acting as sadhus, and then Krishna comes and takes care of them one way or another. So like this, all of these, we may want to say they are independent, they are dependent, interdependent. We might want to say that, but in the next verses, Krishnadas Kaviraj is going to say, well, even you execute one activity, that can be a perfection. And then we read about those who were perfect in each of 9 different processes of devotion. I sometimes remember hearing, well, I would see many years ago, one devotee in Vrindavan, a god brother, Vibhu Chaitanya Prabhu was his name. He was from Bengal, and he was cooking for Shri Radha Shyamasundar and for all of the deities, Krishna Balaram, Shri Gaurnitai. And he was cooking not 1 or 2 offerings, he was cooking all of the offerings every day. And Srila Prabhupada had given, Prabhupada was so pleased with his service. And I've been told that Srila Prabhupada gave him a special instruction, a special dispensation, you might say. Namely, don't worry about chanting japa. You can chant japa if you have time, but just cook for Krishna, and your life will be perfect. And that's what he did. Until he was very senior, and he was still cooking. Of course, where was he doing this? It was in Vrindavan, right? So in effect, he was doing 2 things. He was worshipping Krishna, and he was in Vrindavan. And you could say he would have also been hearing the kirtan going on all the time. So it's kind of hard to separate one from the other of the different processes, if you think about it. And so what we want is to be in the, we say in English, we want to be in the thick of it. We want to be absorbed in these activities, because these are collectively, yes, you can say individually, but especially collectively, so powerful. So powerful that this verse says, Su alpa api. Excuse me. That if one engages in these activities, which are adbhuta, wonderful, even a little, svalpamasya, what is it? Svalpamapyasya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat. It will free one even a little bit. How does the verse start? Neha bikrama nashostis. Yes. Trayate mahato bhayat. Yes. This is so encouraging, isn't it? But someone could take this the wrong way. Someone could say, okay, I've done a little service. We don't want to overdo it. Let's not be fanatics. I'll do a little service. Su alpa. Alpa means little, and su means very, so very little. Someone might come to that conclusion. That would not be the point. They would have missed the point. The point is to encourage us to get on the boat and keep on the boat. Or get on the train and keep on the train. Sachinandan Swami was speaking about that the other day. Getting on the train, wasn't it? Just get on the train. It's powerful. The holy name specifically. Get on the holy name train. he was explaining about Vastu Shakti. It has an intrinsic power. Intrinsic, you know this word? How would you translate intrinsic? Huh?
Kind of built in.
Built in, yes. Auf Deutsch, wie würde man sagen? Eingebaut. Yeah. Yes, that sounds very German. Das ist eingebaut. Yeah, because also this verse is indicating what is the aim. The aim is bhava. Satyam bhava janmane. And of course this sheds some interesting light on the ever controversial topic, which I won't get into, but bhava janmana. Janma, what does janma mean? Birth. Bhava janmane. And how Prabhupada translates, to awaken one's dormant love of Krishna. So bhava is janma, it is born, it is awakened. How is it awakened? It is awakened by these processes. Satyam, especially for someone who is, Prabhupada says, intelligent and offenseless. Intelligent and offenseless. Yeah, that's nice. Diya and diya. And sat means so many things. It means real, it means existing, as opposed to asat. It means permanent, like that. But here it has this sense, because diya has the sense of intelligence. Right, these are encouraging words. And Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has some encouraging words for us also in this song, which those of you who were at the retreat will recall. Mother Kosharupa shared with us, and I thought there's no harm in reviewing, because as she pointed out, this is specifically Bhaktivinoda Thakur speaking about experiencing spiritual life at home. And I think she may not have mentioned it, that this song is from Sharanagati, and Sharanagati is about what? It's about surrender, or taking refuge, sometimes it's said, and shelter. And this is divided in Bhaktivinoda Thakur's Sharanagati songbook, as is the verse that it comes from an earlier text. It's divided into 6 aspects, right? What are these 6 aspects? Anukulyasya sankalpa, pratikulyasya varjanam, rakshasya titi vishvasa bhoktritve varanam tata, atmanikshepa karpanye shadvidha sharanagati. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur, very interestingly, kind of reverses the order. So his first songs are about Atmani Vedana, giving everything, or I believe so. He goes to humility, and later he comes, maybe it's the last, in any case, in the verse, Anukulyasya Sankalpa, accepting what is favorable for devotional service. This song, Shuddha Bhakata, which you so nicely sang at the retreat, is one of the songs. He has sometimes 4, sometimes more than 4 songs within each of the categories in a kind of progression, going each time deeper and deeper. This song is included in Anukula, Anukulyasya Sankalpa. So accepting what is favorable. So he's kind of listing in this song what is favorable for devotional service, including what all the things one can do at home, essentially making the home into a temple. Shuddha Bhakata Charana Renu Bhajana Anukula Bhakata Seva Paramasiddhi Premalati Karamula. Dust from the lotus feet of pure devotees is conducive to devotional service. Shri Shri Jagannath Subhadra Baladeva Ki Jai, Shri Shri Gaurnitai Ki Jai. While service to the Vaishnavas is itself the supreme perfection and the root to the tender creeper of divine love. So he starts out with Sadhu Sangha. And then he describes himself observing various festivals, including Ekadashi and Janmashtami, both of which he refers to as the mother of devotion. Bhakti Janani, they are mothers of devotion. When is the next Ekadashi coming up?
Saturday.
Saturday? Thank you. It's nice to know kind of some days in advance. Whenever I sort of find out on the day that it's Ekadashi, I kind of feel like, oh. Instead of feeling like, Jai, I sort of go, oh. And then I think, uh-oh, I'm not in the right mood. But when I know it's coming, some days in advance, then the mind is prepared. So anyway. And then, as my dwelling place, I shall choose with the greatest of reverence and love the transcendental abode of Shri Krishna. Krishna Vasati Vasati. We were talking about this Vasati. Parama Adare. Adare means attention?
Affection.
Affection.
I could mean respect also.
Okay. Parama Adare Bori?
Body. Parama Adare Body.
What is that bori?
To hold.
Hold.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, holding.
So I will supremely carefully hold Krishna's residence, something like that. Okay. Yeah, then, and then he's going to go on pilgrimage, Gora Amar Jeshavashtane Karalo Brahmana Range. Brahmana means to wander. Can also mean to sort of space out. Yeah, isn't it? Okay. But he's going to wander Range very enthusiastically or joyfully or in a very nice mood. And how is he going to do this? Together with devotees, pranay bhakata shange. So he's combining the sangha of devotees with doing pilgrimage. And as a result, he says, She Shabastan Haribo Ami. I will see. Haribo, right? Haribo. But does it have a deeper sense than just seeing? It's more like beholding. Yeah. Yes. So that's very nice. And then what? Mridanga Vadya Shunite Mon Abashara Shada Jache. Avasar, I think, means opportunity, isn't it? Yeah. Also in Hindi, isn't it? So he says, my mind begs for the opportunity. Jache, I think, is begging. Mridangavadya shunite monabasara shoda jache. My mind is constantly begging for the opportunity to hear the music of the mridanga. It is said that one of Srila Prabhupada's godbrothers, Krishnadas Babaji, what was that story? This doctor, when he was ill, he was listening to his heart with a stethoscope, and what was he hearing? He was hearing mridanga. He was very much absorbed in Harinama. And then Krishna Seva, verse 5, Jugala Murti Daki Amor Parama Ananda Hoy. Jugala Murti means the two Murtis, the dual Murti, you can say. And then Prasad Seva Korite Hoy Shakala Prapancha Joy. Prasad Seva, our favorite. The word seva has the sense of not just service, but attentive service or attentiveness, being attentive to prasadam. Actually, I remember also going back to being in Varanasi with Radhanath Swami. We were invited by one householder for lunch there in Varanasi, and we came there and we all sat in the terrace, and they had all the leaf plates, everything was nicely arranged, and Radhanath Swami led us all in chanting one of our favorite prayers, right? Sharira Vidyajal Jodendriya. We don't usually think about what the first half of that song means. We also maybe are not aware that Bhaktivinoda Thakur wrote 5 more songs or prayers of Prasad Seva. This is the first one. In any case, Radhanath Swami led us in chanting, followed by chanting Hare Krishna, and we were singing and singing Hare Krishna, and I started to think, right, so when are we going to start having prasadam? He just kind of kept going and going for several minutes. I think maybe 10 minutes or so. Later I understood what he was doing. In effect, he was offering, he was mentally offering the food, because these were, some nice pious people, maybe, I don't know, life members or whatever, but what sort of preparation had they made? How how they made the offering? So he was actually, in that way, making the offering. But that sort of tangentially reminds me of the story told of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Puri. The priests wanted to sort of test Mahaprabhu, because in Puri the understanding is that Krishna Prasad, that Jagannath Prasadam is completely pure, and therefore there's no question of not respecting it on Ekadashi, including grains. So they came before Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and said, "So, Mahaprabhu, today take prasadam." And Mahaprabhu said, "Ah, yes, let us take prasadam." And the priests were like, "Really? He's going to do it?" Because they knew he follows Ekadashi, doesn't take grains. So, so he said, "Great, let's take prasadam." And Mahaprabhu's followers, they were like, "Really? Are we going to take prasadam?" So they brought out all the pots, you know, these Jagannath Prasad pots, these big clay pots, and they set them all up, and everyone sat down. And devotees, we can imagine, were looking at each other. Are we really going to take prasadam? And Mahaprabhu said, "Yes, let's take prasadam. And before we take prasadam, let us glorify the Lord." And so they had kirtan, and they had more kirtan, and they had more kirtan, and they kept having kirtan, and they just kept on having kirtan until the next morning. And he said, "Let us take prasadam." And so they did. In this way, everything was appropriately and properly done. Yeah. So then, Jedin Grihe, one day, in my home, Bhajana Daki, Grihe te Goloka Bhai, Chorana Sidhu Dakiya Ganga, Shuka Nasima Pai. At the retreat, the version of this that was projected on the screen, there was a typo, so it said Sasima when it's Nasima. What is Sima? You know, limit. It means limit or border. Nasima Pai, Sukha Nasima Pai. I felt no limit to my happiness. Sukha Nasima Pai. Goloka Vrindavan appears in my home whenever I see the worship and service of Lord Hari going on there. Upon seeing the Ganga, which is a river of nectar emanating from the lotus feet of the Lord, my happiness knows no bounds. Now this Goloka Vrindavan appears in my home whenever I see the worship and service of the Lord Hari going on there. Could be taken by some, grihastas, that Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, I see Goloka Vrindavan at home, so no need to leave the home to worship in the temple. I will just worship at home. Yes, sounds good. Yes, you're just going to stay home and worship. Ah, that's okay. That's what they will say. I am simply following Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And he says, stay at home and worship the deity, and that's enough. Is it enough?
No.
If there's a temple where there's worship of Lord Jagannath, Subhadra Baladev, Shri Shri Gaurnitai, where devotees come together, then why not take the opportunity? Why not take that opportunity? In Vrindavan, I was fortunate. In the year 2001, I spent 4 months living 50 meters away from the Radharaman temple. So I was able to go every morning, any time of day. It was easy to go and have darshan and so on. And it was just interesting for me to see. I would go for Mangalarti, and I would see how the people There's some devotees. They're like marathon runners. They come into the temple for the Mangalarti, and then they're gone because they're going to the next temple, and the next temple, and the next temple. They have a routine. You know, they're going to several temples, and they'll do it every morning, no matter what the weather is. And everyone has their vows that they take. Everyone has a standard they keep. So that's really the sense, I think, that Srila Prabhupada wanted us to imbibe, the sense that, yes, we make vows. We make vows at initiation. But we also make kind of internal vows for ourselves that I'm going to keep some standard, some practice. Why? Because that's going to bring about bhava. That's bhava janmani. That's going to bring about. And even, it says, Shraddha dure astu. Let there be only a little Shraddha. Astu means let there be. It's third person singular imperative, to be, sant, I believe. So let there be even a little faith, but let there be some faith. And that will then, if there's some persistence, some practice, then it's practice. I was thinking about practice also, like therapy. We're Prabhupada sometimes compared, we're like a hospital. Maybe that's why devotees don't want to come to the temple after somebody says, no, it's too much like a hospital. What's another analogy? Not a prison, that's the material world. We come out of the material world into the temple to get away from the material world. We take shelter in the temple. And it, well, yes, another analogy could be incubation. The temple is a place. It's called the altar area is called the Garbha Griha, right? What is Garbha? Womb. Yes. So we can think also of the temple as a place of incubation. What does incubation mean? To incubate. Incubation. What do chickens do, or what do hens do with their eggs? Huh?
Shelter protects something in a closed environment to let it foster.
Yes, that's a nice kind of definition. To shelter something or someone in an enclosed environment. How did you put it?
To let it foster.
To let it foster, to let it grow, we can say. So this is a place for growing. What do we want to grow here? The Bhakti Lata Bija. Yes. We don't want it to stay a bija, right? This is the whole instruction of Rupa Goswami. In chapter 19, he's describing the planting of the Bhakti Lata Bija, and then how it sprouts, the whole process. He's giving another analogy, which is that of gardening. And then the elaborations we're getting in the teachings of Sanatana Goswami. But the temple is a place of cultivation And that cultivation, as Srila Prabhupada innumerable times said, as we heard also in the retreat, spoke not of bhakti as simply devotion, but as
Devotional service.
devotional service. We like the word devotion. That sounds very nice and sweet and sort of warm and fuzzy. People like that. But then service. Devotional service. There was a there was a television series in America when I was very young. It was a comedy, and there was one character who was playing the sort of he was not a hippie, because this was before the hippie time. He was a beatnik. Have you heard of the beatniks? Yeah, this is all before your time. The beatniks were the precursors of the hippies, and one of the features, one of the characteristics typifying the beatnik was that they had an allergy to work. They were allergic to work. And so the character in this comedy, I remember still his name, Maynard G. Krebs. Anyway, whenever one of the other characters would even mention the word work, he would invariably say, work, work! So sometimes devotees might develop that sort of a beatnik mentality of devotion. Yes, I'm all into devotion, but service, no thank you. It's like service. Service, no. So we don't want to misunderstand what Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying here. Yes, it's true. Jedina grihe bhajana daki grihe te golokambaya. That's wonderful if we can see the home as Golokadam. But let's not restrict it to the temple, to the home. Let's see also Goloka in the temple. Right. Hare Krishna. These are a few thoughts. Perhaps you want to elaborate or reflect on any of these, or yeah, if there's a question we can discuss.
Thank you so much for your lecture, Maharaj. I was thinking on this point that it has two conditions that we can practice this service. The one is we have to be intelligent, and the other is we shouldn't do offenses.
Yes.
And to be intelligent and to be offenseless is actually really hard. So we kind of skip these 2 points, and maybe you can elaborate on that, how to really get to this point.
Yeah, it reminds me, which is the verse? Prabhupada speaks about this, something like this. It's one of the verses in the Gita that where there's a kind of condition. If one is a pure devotee, you can reach perfection. If one is a pure devotee, okay, right. Good, intelligent and offenseless. Well, first point of intelligence, I would say, is persistence, commitment. We were also hearing in the retreat, Keshava Maharaj was making a nice point in the question and answers thing. We have this commitment phobia. And he was saying commitment involves a risk, but to not commit is equally, if not more so, a risk. So intelligence is, you could say, this first component of intelligence would be to recognize this. Of course, the whole Bhagavad Gita, Krishna advises Arjuna, is about cultivating intelligence, isn't it? And he says in the end, he says one who hears this teaching is developing or is cultivating intelligence, or is worshipping me by his intelligence. If I remember, I always wanted to learn that verse and never did. So, which one is it? Adyeshate? Yeah. Verse 70, chapter 18. Adyeshate chaya imang dharmyang samvadam avayo jnana yagyena tenaham ishta syam iti me mati. Jnana yagyena. One is doing jnana yagya, the sacrifice of knowledge, which doesn't mean, we usually think of sacrifice as giving up something. So it doesn't mean giving up jnana. No, it's the sacrifice of cultivating knowledge. And so we can say that to be intelligent is to go on listening, hearing, and of course reading we can think of as a form of listening, of hearing. And then offenselessness, so being offenseless. Well, we learn early on there are offenses to be avoided, and so putting the two together. Oh, it's an offense, to disobey the order of the spiritual master, for example. Okay, the spiritual master gives us an order, chant Hare Krishna, and he gives more specifics. Avoid the offenses in chanting. Okay, so if I'm intelligent, I'll follow that. I'll avoid that offense. And like that, one is being attentive to be aware that there are offenses to avoid, and one can recognize, this would be offensive for me to act or think like this. Let me avoid that. And so one who is intelligent and offenseless, we could say, is one who is intelligent enough, even they may have only little faith, right? Shraddha dure astu. They're intelligent enough to make a sincere effort to avoid offenses. And of course, the most serious offenses are actually not offenses to the holy name or offenses to the deity. The most serious are offenses to Vaishnavas, to devotees. If we can avoid offending the Vaishnavas, that's very intelligent. Yeah, is that okay?
Yes.
Yes, Devashri.
Thank you, Maharaj. Maharaj, I just had a reflection to share, just my understanding of the verse. I'm not too sure if it's correct, but this verse seems to be like a mechanism to understand when we are preaching to individuals, because when I was looking at the translation, it says how even without faith, if a person is offenseless, they can awaken this dormant love only by simply being connected. And then I was speaking yesterday with some devotees about book distribution, and I was thinking how this fits very well in that context. How if we meet innocent people who probably have no faith in the books that we are giving, but simply because of their innocence and they come in connection with the devotee, there is this awakening of the dormant Krishna consciousness.
Yes, that's nice. Whether they do or not, if they have that little bit of faith to just take the book, not even being aware what the book is until they get home and open it, then that can be a start. Or they put it away in the shelf. I've heard this so many times, that the book was in the shelf and it was there for years. And then I decided to take it off the shelf and read it. And when I read it, I said, that's it. Who was telling me this is how they, it was also at the retreat, I think. Someone was saying like that, the book was in the shelf. Yeah.
20 years, I think.
Yeah. 20 years on the shelf. And yeah, so yes, little faith somehow gets the book, maybe in the little faith that one takes the book and opens it. I wonder what's inside this book. Little faith. Microscopic faith, just enough to open it up. Yeah. Thank you. Anything else? Yes, Mataji back here.
Thank you very much, Maharaj. My question is, if we commit the Vaishnava apparat, how can we correct it?
Yes, if we commit Vaishnava aparadha, how can we correct it? Well, that is said, also Bhaktivinoda Thakur speaks about that. We approach the person, we say Vaishnava, we should also think more inclusively, I would say. Devotee is offenseless not just to Vaishnavas, it's not that devotees can go around, being offensive to everyone else but Vaishnavas. That's not wanted. That's also a bigger subject, but especially we can say Vaishnavas, we want to be careful how to right a wrong. We go to that Vaishnava and we beg for forgiveness. That's the method. And of course, with a genuine feeling of remorse, not in a mechanical way, but with a genuine feeling of remorse. And then we can, there's forgiving, and then there's correcting, there's turning it around, rather than offending, doing something for that person, serving, asking, how can I serve you, what can I do for you, like that.
And from when on is it an apparat? What is considered as apparat? Because sometimes people in general, or especially devotees, are very touchy. So how
devotees are very touchy. I'm laughing because it's true. We tend to be very touchy. What did you say? So you're asking what constitutes an offense?
Yeah. What?
The extreme example is the story of, was it again Srila Rupa Goswami was completely inadvertently and utterly accidentally because of being misunderstood, offending one sadhu who was passing by as Rupa Goswami was, with absolutely no reference to the sadhu passing by. He was laughing. And why was he laughing? Because of whatever it was in his meditation. Does anyone remember what it was he was laughing at? Huh?
His meditation, he observed how the Sakhis decorating Radharani.
Uh-huh.
And in the mirror, they showed Radharani's face in the back. Radharani saw Krishna hiding in the bushes. Radharani became shy. Some of the Sakhis were laughing, and Rupa Goswami, in his form as Upamanjari, was also laughing.
Right. So for the microphone, since you didn't have, he was laughing at a pastime of Radha and Krishna and the Sakhis, in which he, in his Manjari Bhava, as Rupa Manjari, was also laughing. Srimati Radharani was being decorated. She was looking in the mirror. Behind, seeing through the mirror, was Krishna, and the Sakhis were all laughing as Radharani became shy, seeing that Krishna is watching. So that's what Rupa Manjari was laughing at. And the sadhu happening by at that moment when he was laughing was seeing Rupa Goswami. He wasn't seeing Rupa Manjari. And because he was seeing Rupa Goswami laughing, he assumed that he's laughing at him, the sadhu. And so he felt offended. And then what was the result? Rupa Goswami felt some problem. What was that? His meditation broke. He felt something is wrong. He could sense that he's done something, that a devotee has been offended. Somehow he is implicated. And then how does he find out who it is? Say again.
That sadhu went to Sanatana Goswami.
The sadhu went to Sanatana Goswami. Go ahead.
Yeah, and told the story, and then Sanatana Goswami advised him, you should go and speak to Rupa Goswami. There must be misunderstanding.
Uh-huh.
And then they met and asked forgiveness for each other. It was solved.
It was solved. Happily ended.
Another version that Sanatana Goswami advised Rupa Goswami to make a very big feast for all sadhus and understand what sadhu will not come, the sadhu is offended. And Rupa Goswami did this.
Yeah. So that was it, yes. Thank you. That's what you were going to say also, Govinda. So, yeah, you made it. You mentioned, it's true, Vaishnavas can be quite touchy. And that's not what Vaishnavas are supposed to be, right? Quite the opposite. Vaishnavas don't see any offense, theoretically. Maybe it's too theoretical for us. Yeah. So it can be a problem if, you may, you may do something with no intention of offending. Somebody's offended, and then you want to say to that devotee, I had absolutely no intention to offend. And the devotee may feel, but I feel offended. So, and it can go in circles like this. Who's going to be the most offended and the least offended, and the most humble and the least humble, and then you start, it becomes a kind of echo chamber of aparad, and speculated aparada and everything. So I agree, that can be a problem. What to do? Well, in general, I guess we can say the principle is it's not wrong to overdo humility. In other words, a devotee genuinely doesn't want others to be having any negative feeling about them. If for no other reason, we don't want that to be the case, because at the end of life, if there's even something left over with regard to this, like somebody is not having a good feeling about us, then Krishna or Yamaraj may say, well, you're close but not quite. You have to take birth again, and you have to take birth in the same place where that person who was offended by you will be. And so you're going to have to work it out. Yeah. And that's a nice way to also think about the present situation is, oh, I'm having trouble with this person. It must be that we had trouble in the last life also. So let's sort it out once and for all. Let's sort it out if we can. Does that make sense? Yeah. Yeah, so devotees are careful, but it's true, there's kind of a limit to how careful you can be. Therefore, we just always try to keep in a spirit of serving the Vaishnavas and pray that Krishna will see our intention, our good intention. Hare Krishna. Something more? No? Okay. Yes?
I had the same question actually. And what if the person wants to stay offended?
What if the person wants to stay offended? It could be then that person's problem. I remember years ago Braj Bihari Prabhu explaining this about when there's a problem. When there's a problem between persons in general, whether devotees or not, he said a good strategy to deal with the problem is first of all to work out who is the owner of the problem. Who owns the problem? Because if someone who actually owns the problem tries to convince me that I'm the owner of the problem, when actually I'm not the owner of the problem, then I have a problem because I'm going to start trying to solve the problem even though I'm not the owner of it. Did that make any sense? I hope it made sense. So this can be very helpful to determine who is the owner of a problem. It's very liberating, actually, because so many things, and I mean this is true for all of us in all kinds of situations, and I would say especially for managers who there's always an attempt to dump problems onto managers, which are in fact for someone else to solve. And a good manager will be able to identify who is the owner of particular problems and will help that person understand, I have to solve it myself. Yeah. Is that would you say that's true? No. Yes. You're not so sure about that.
Makes sense, but I guess I didn't realize it.
Oh. Yeah.
When I hear it from you, it sounds like a lot of realization. Makes sense.
It sounds good. Okay. So, thank you all very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami ki jai. Gaur Premanande.
Krishna Ksetra Maharaj ki jai. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Just again, for those who were not at the Mangala Arati, for what reason ever, there will be initiation ceremony at 12:45. Maharaj will give initiation to Ramdas. So please all come and be present in this auspicious ceremony. And I also forgot to mention Devadharma Prabhu is leaving today. So we can say goodbye. He's leaving at 3 o'clock. Yeah. That he has a successful preaching.
He just got here.
Devadharma Prabhu ki jai. Jai.
I was trying.
I didn't send the wrong signal. I found it as an open point, but I guess I have to realize it in
I'm always just preaching to myself.
I was reminded when I heard this one thing Guru used to say about prasadam, but I think it also applies in this context of giving and taking offenses. Because there was this verse in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Akhanda Kurya Bhajana, that limitlessly you should eat up to the limit. But then at the same time, there is this word, Kaluna Khaiva Kaluna Kurya, that I will not eat good and I will not eat very good. And then my younger sister asked Guru Maharaj, these things contradict each other. And then Guru Maharaj said that when it comes to myself, I shall never wear anything nice or never opulently eat. But when I'm feeding others, I shall opulently feed them prasadam. So similarly, when it comes to taking offense with myself, I should not. But when it comes to being sensitive, I should be overly sensitive to
So you can take breakfast and the family because your brother didn't help it will not so hard, so I won't spend so many time. Yeah, I will never tell to let's
They have some.
Okay. So,
and then it became a back of the world. So
Spelling little bit similar.
Yes.
Sometimes confused.
Ram.
The Ram Bhakta.
What is your good name?
Guru Nishtha. Guru Nishtha.
There is one, what is you said about this work, no? There is one, I don't know how to say, but the Sicilian. Oh, thank you. Was du leistest?
Alles macht ihr da.
Du machst es? Alles noch? Ja, so.
Checkst du, ne?
Ja, wenn ihr nicht kommt, wenn ihr nicht mal was.
Ja.